there, and welcome to the Property Wealth Podcast. I'm so glad you're joining us today. If you're diving into real estate investing, one of the most crucial steps is knowing who to trust, right?
Absolutely, Sarah. Contractor vetting is a huge part of that process, and today we're going to dig into the red flags to watch out for and how to ensure your contracts protect you.
Yeah, it can be a minefield out there. You want to get the best work done, but also stay protected from potential pitfalls.
Exactly. We'll share some practical tips on how to spot those red flags, whether it's in a contractor's communication style or their past work.
And we can't forget about contracts. We'll talk about what to include to make sure you're covered and how to avoid common mistakes that can lead to headaches down the road.
Right. And it's not just about the contracts themselves. It's also about understanding the importance of having everything in writing and being clear about expectations.
For sure. And, we'll also touch on some real-life experiences, things we've seen happen in the field that can really help you make better decisions.
Plus, some success stories to inspire you to keep pushing forward, even when things get a little tricky.
So if you're ready to dive into the world of contractor vetting and contracts, let's get started.
Let's do it! Sarah, when we talk about contractor vetting, it really hits home for those of us over 40. At this stage in life, many people are looking to secure their financial future, right? Retirement isn't just a far-off thing anymore. It's right around the corner for a lot of folks.
Absolutely, Mike. And with inflation being what it is these days, every dollar counts even more. People need to ensure that their investments are protected, especially in real estate, where hiring the right contractor can make or break a project.
Exactly. I've seen so many investors, especially those in their 40s and 50s, who are trying to build a nest egg for retirement, or even to leave some wealth for their kids. But if they end up with a contractor who cuts corners or, worse, disappears halfway through a project, it can really derail those plans.
Right! I know one investor. Let's call her Lisa. She was so excited to start her first flip, But she didn't properly vet her contractor and ended up with a complete mess. Delays, shoddy work, and eventually she had to pay another contractor to fix the problems. It cost her not just money, but time she could have spent enjoying her retirement.
That's a classic example, Sarah. And it goes beyond just the financial hit. It can also cause a lot of stress and anxiety. At this age, many are looking for peace of mind, and dealing with a bad contractor can be a real emotional roller coaster. It's not just about the money, it's about feeling secure in your investments.
Yeah, and think about it. When you're over 40 and looking to grow your wealth through property, you're often juggling other responsibilities too, like family, careers, and maybe even caring for aging parents. You don't want this added stress on top of everything else.
Exactly. And, the current economic trends aren't making things any easier. With interest rates changing and the housing market shifting, it's crucial for investors to have a solid team behind them. A reliable contractor can help ensure that projects stay on track, which is essential for maintaining cash flow.
And that cash flow is what allows you to build wealth and protect against inflation, isn't it? If you can keep your properties generating income, it helps cushion against those rising living costs that we're all feeling.
Absolutely. I remember a client of mine, Tom, who had a rental property that was cash flowing nicely. He was able to reinvest that income into another property simply because he had a dependable contractor who helped him keep the first one in great shape. It's like a snowball effect. One good decision leads to another.
That's a great point. And think about how this ties into family wealth transfer. People over 40 are often thinking about how to pass on their assets to their children or grandchildren. If they're not careful with their investments now, what kind of legacy are they leaving behind?
Exactly. If parents want to hand down properties to their kids, they need to ensure those properties are well maintained and profitable. A bad contractor could lead to a property falling into disrepair, which can significantly diminish its value.
And who wants to leave a headache for their kids, right? They should be able to enjoy the benefits of that wealth, not deal with the fallout of poor investment choices.
Well said. And, there's also the emotional side of financial security through property. When you have good contractors and solid investments, it provides a sense of stability, which is so important as we age.
Absolutely. It's about feeling secure in your future. There's a peace that comes from knowing your investments are in good hands. You can enjoy life a little more, focus on your family, and not constantly worry about your financial picture.
Right. And Sarah, let's not forget the importance of building a network. For many people over 40, having trusted contacts in the industry can be a game changer. It's not just about vetting a contractor. It's about having a support system around you.
Yes, it's like building your own little team of experts. If someone has a good experience with a contractor, they can recommend them, and it can save you a lot of time and stress.
That's so true. And when you think about it, building that network can also help you stay informed about market shifts. The more people you know, the more insights you gain, whether it's about upcoming areas to invest in or contractors who are doing great work.
It's all interconnected, isn't it? The right relationships can lead to better investment decisions, which can ultimately lead to greater financial security and peace of mind.
Exactly. And that's why this topic is so crucial right now. As we navigate these economic times, being proactive, like vetting contractors, and making sure you have a solid team can help ensure a smoother path to retirement.
I love how you put that, Mike. It's all about being proactive and not reactive. And with that in mind, I think we should dive into some core strategies for vetting contractors effectively.
So when it comes to vetting contractors, one of the first things I always recommend is to check their references. It's like, a basic but crucial step.
Absolutely. And it's not just about asking for references. You should actually call them, right?
Exactly. Talk to previous clients. Ask them about their experience. Were they on time? Did they stick to the budget? Little things like that can reveal a lot.
Right. And I guess looking at their portfolio is important too.
Yes. Ask for examples of their past work. If they say they've done a kitchen remodel, ask to see pictures, or better yet, visit the site if you can.
I mean, you wouldn't hire a chef without tasting their food, right?
Exactly. And then there's the contract. You need a solid contract before any work begins.
What are the key components of a good contract?
Well, for starters, you want to make sure it outlines the scope of work in detail. What exactly are they going to do?
And that includes timelines, right?
Yes. Timelines are crucial. You don't want your project dragging on forever. Specify start and end dates and include penalties for delays if possible.
That's smart. And what about payment terms?
Good point. Payment schedules should be clear too. I usually suggest a small deposit up front, then staggered payments based on milestones, like 30% when they start, another 30% when they reach, say, halfway, and the final payment when everything's done.
That makes sense. It keeps them motivated to finish on time?
Exactly. And be cautious of contractors asking for a large upfront payment. That's often a red flag.
Yeah, that's definitely something to watch out for.
Also, you might want to include a clause about changes to the scope of work. Sometimes, you might want to add or modify something, and having that in writing can save you headaches later.
Right. And that can help avoid those surprise costs that pop up.
Yes. Speaking of costs, let's talk about how to evaluate whether a project is worth the investment. The 1% rule is a great starting point.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's like, if the monthly rent is at least 1% of the purchase price, it's considered a good deal, right?
Exactly. So if you buy a property for $200,000, you'd want to be getting at least $2,000 a month in rent.
That's a good way to quickly assess potential profitability.
And then there's the 50% rule, which is another handy guideline. It suggests that about half of your income will go to expenses like maintenance, taxes, and management fees.
So if you're making $2,000 a month, you'd estimate $1,000 for expenses?
Right. That leaves you with $1,000 a month for cash flow or to pay down your mortgage.
Got it. And what about cap rates?
The cap rate. It's a measure of return on an investment property. To calculate it, you divide the property's net operating income by the purchase price.
Okay. So if the property generates $24,000 a year in net income and you bought it for $300,000, what's the cap rate?
You divide $24,000 by $300,000, which gives you an 8% cap rate.
That sounds good. But what does that actually mean in terms of investment quality?
A higher cap rate generally indicates a better return, but it can also mean higher risk. So you want to balance that with the property's location and condition.
Right. Like, A high cap rate in a declining area might not be as attractive.
Exactly. You really need to consider the bigger picture. And don't forget about the importance of market research.
Ah, yes. Understanding the local market trends can help you decide if it's a good time to buy or sell.
Absolutely. Look at factors like average days on market, price trends, and rental demand.
And using a checklist can help keep you organized. What would be on your checklist for evaluating a property?
Well, I'd start with location. Is it close to schools, shopping, and public transport? Then, condition of the property and any necessary repairs.
That's key. And what about the financing options?
Good question. Traditional mortgages are common, but there are also options like hard money loans, which are quicker to obtain but often come with higher interest rates.
Yeah, and I've heard of creative financing too, like seller financing or lease options.
Exactly. Those can be great ways to get into a property without a huge upfront investment.
It seems like there are so many paths to take in real estate investing.
There really are, but it's all about finding what works best for your situation.
And being diligent in your research and vetting processes is key.
For sure. And now, let's talk about some common pitfalls that investors can fall into when working with contractors or managing projects.
Yes, I'm all ears.
You know, one of the biggest pitfalls I see with new investors is over-leveraging. They get excited about a property, and suddenly they're in way over their heads, right?
Absolutely. I think it's that feeling of chasing after the next big deal. It can be really tempting to take on more debt than you can handle.
Exactly. I remember a client of mine, let's call him John, he bought a property in a hot neighborhood thinking it would be a slam dunk. He stretched his budget, thinking, well, it's going to appreciate in value anyway. But then the market shifted, and he found himself with a mortgage he couldn't afford, and a property that wasn't cash flowing.
Ouch. That's tough. So what went wrong there?
Well, John ignored the cash flow aspect. He focused too much on the potential appreciation without looking at the numbers. You know, cash flow is king. If you can't cover your expenses, you're in trouble, no matter how much the property might appreciate in the future.
Right. And I think a lot of people forget that. They get caught up in the excitement and lose sight of the fundamentals.
Exactly. And then there are bad tenants that can really derail your plans. I had another investor, let's call her Lisa. She bought a multifamily unit and was so eager to get renters in that she skipped the vetting process.
Oh no. What happened?
Well, she ended up with tenants who didn't pay rent on time and even caused damage to the property. It was a nightmare. She was stuck dealing with late payments and repairs instead of enjoying her investment.
That's a tough lesson. So how can someone avoid that pitfall?
The key is to have a solid tenant screening process. Check references, verify income, and don't be afraid to trust your instincts. If something feels off during the interview, it probably is.
Definitely. And what about those hidden costs? I think a lot of people underestimate them.
Oh, for sure. I had a friend who bought a property thinking he just needed to cover the mortgage and taxes, but then came the repairs, maintenance, and even unexpected HOA fees. He was blindsided.
It can really add up quickly, can't it?
Yes! That's why it's so important to budget for those hidden costs ahead of time. I always say to plan for the worst and hope for the best.
That's great advice. And what about timing the market? I know that's a big concern for many investors.
Timing the market can be a real trap. I've seen investors wait and wait, hoping to catch the perfect moment to buy, and in the meantime, they miss out on great opportunities.
Yeah, it's like waiting for the perfect wave, right? Sometimes you just have to paddle out and catch what's there.
Exactly. Real estate is a long-term game. If you're always trying to time the market, you might end up sitting on the sidelines forever.
And I think that fear of making the wrong decision can be paralyzing for a lot of people.
It can be. But the truth is, there's always a risk. The best thing you can do is educate yourself, do your research, and make informed decisions.
Speaking of informed decisions, what about keeping an eye out for red flags during the vetting process?
Great point. One of the biggest red flags is when a contractor or vendor seems overly eager to get the job without asking many questions about the project.
Oh yeah, If they're not asking about your vision or the details, that could be a sign they're not really invested in your success.
Exactly. And another red flag is when they're unwilling to provide references or examples of their past work. If they can't back up their claims, that's a major warning sign.
Right. And what about contracts? I think a lot of people overlook the importance of having a solid, detailed contract in place.
Definitely. A vague contract can lead to a lot of misunderstandings. I had an investor who didn't specify timelines or payment schedules in their contract. When delays came up, it ended up being a huge mess.
That's frustrating. So what should someone include in a good contract?
Clear timelines, payment schedules, and a detailed scope of work. You want to make sure everyone is on the same page. And don't forget about contingency clauses. They can save you a lot of headaches down the road.
That's really good advice. So if someone finds themselves in a tough situation because of these pitfalls, what can they do to recover?
The first step is to take a breath and assess the situation. Identify what went wrong, and then create a plan to address it. If it's a tenant issue, maybe consider eviction if necessary, or even look into property management services to help with screening.
Yeah, and if it's about over-leveraging, perhaps refinancing could be an option, right?
Exactly. Refinancing can help lower your payments if the market allows for it. And remember, it's never too late to pivot your strategy. Investing is a journey, not a sprint.
That's a great perspective to have. And it's all about learning and growing along the way.
Absolutely. Mistakes happen, but they can also lead to valuable lessons that make you a stronger investor in the long run.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to wrap up on.
Agreed. Let's transition into our next steps for our listeners. All right, so let's dive into some immediate steps that anyone can take right now to make sure they're vetting contractors effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing is just to create a checklist, right? It can be really simple.
Exactly. You want to list out those red flags we talked about? Like, if a contractor doesn't have proper licensing or insurance, that's a huge red flag.
Totally. And you could also include things like how they communicate. If they're hard to get a hold of during the vetting process, that might be a sign of future issues.
Right. Communication is key. And I'd recommend, getting everything in writing. Make sure you have a solid contract that outlines the project scope, timelines, and payment schedules.
Oh, speaking of contracts, there are some great templates available online too. You can check out sites like Rocket Lawyer or Law Depot.
Yes, they can help you draft a contract that protects you and your investment. Also think about using tools like Zillow or Redfin to get a sense of market prices and contractor costs in your area.
Those are great resources. And if you're looking to analyze potential deals, the Bigger Pockets calculator is super handy.
For sure. It'll help you run the numbers and see if the investment makes sense. And don't forget about apps like DealCheck and Rentometer for rental property analysis too.
Those can really streamline the process, can't they? And I think it's also important to start small. Maybe analyze one deal a week, just to get into the habit.
Absolutely. That's a great way to build confidence. You don't have to dive into a huge project right away.
Right, and joining a local real estate meetup can also be a game changer. It's a fantastic way to network and learn from others who are in the same boat.
Yeah, and you can often find people who've had experiences with contractors. They can share their insights, which is invaluable.
Definitely. And if you're looking for more structured learning, I'd recommend a couple of books. The book on managing rental properties by Brandon and Heather Turner is a good start.
That's a classic. And Investing in Real Estate by Gary W. Eldred offers some solid foundational knowledge too.
Those are must-reads, for sure. And there are also some great podcasts out there. I mean, aside from ours, of course.
Laughs. Of course. But yeah, I really like Bigger Pockets podcast. They have some fantastic guests who share their real experiences.
Exactly. And it's nice to hear real stories, It makes the whole investing process feel more relatable.
Speaking of relatable, I think developing a daily habit of reviewing your investments, or even just your local market, can really pay off.
Yeah, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, it can help you stay informed and make better decisions down the line.
And don't forget about following local real estate news. It keeps you aware of market trends, which can directly impact your investing strategy.
Such a good point. Staying informed is key. And remember, It's all about starting where you are.
Exactly. You don't need to have all the answers right now. Just take one step at a time.
Well, with all these tools in your pocket, you're ready to move forward. Let's recap what we've covered today.
Well, Sarah, we've covered some really important ground today on contractor vetting. I think it's worth summarizing a few key takeaways for our listeners.
Absolutely, Mike. So first off, recognizing red flags during the vetting process is crucial.
Right? Things like inconsistent communication or a lack of references can really signal trouble ahead.
And then there's the importance of having a solid contract in place. It protects both sides and helps set clear expectations.
Exactly. And don't forget about the payment structure. Being cautious with upfront payments can save you from potential issues later on.
And let's not overlook the significance of building a relationship with your contractor. A good rapport can make the entire project much smoother.
Yes, trust and communication are key. So as we wrap up, it's clear that investing in property is not just about the numbers. It's about building those relationships and being smart with your choices.
For sure. And remember, wealth building through real estate is a journey. It may have its ups and downs, but with the right approach, you can achieve long-term success.
That's a great reminder, Sarah. And to our listeners, if you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have in the comments.
Yeah, and don't forget to share this with someone over 40 who's looking to invest in property. You never know who might benefit from this advice.
And next time, we're diving into material cost hacks for 2026. Trust me, you won't want to miss that.
Exactly. We're excited to bring you more practical insights. So until then, keep learning, keep investing, and stay positive.
Goodbye for now, and thanks for joining us.
Take care, everyone.